Daksha, thank you so much for taking out time and joining us on the show. What do you make of the offer? Is it a fair one? And is this the need of the hour to end this tax spat, which has in fact, unfortunately, given India a bad image as far as the international tax community is concerned?
I think in the first place, this should be seen as an extremely positive development. Vodafone had said that they were ready to have a settlement with the government. And indeed, when they do say something like that, it is intended or it is understood that they are prepared to pay something. They are not expecting that they will not pay anything. And the least that they would be expecting to pay is, of course, the original tax demand. It is fair because the law did get changed, and that is the law of the land now, that when there is an indirect transfer of an Indian asset, the capital gains realized is taxable in India. And it is a fair offer if indeed it is the offer that has been made, that not only the penalty that is going to be waived, but also the interest which is going to be waived. So to my mind, it sends out an extremely, extremely strong signal to the world, to all the investors who are going to be investing in India. And government seems to have really walked the talk in this regard. They have the legacy issue, they have to solve it, and this is what they are trying to do.
Daksha, let's also examine another leg of this story. It's a fascinating case. It's seen its various shares of ups and downs over the years, but there's also a parallel arbitration process that is going on overseas. So if, let's hypothetically consider a situation that Vodafone does indeed take up the settlement offer. I understand that they've told the government that they will speak to the board and the shareholders before they arrive at a formal conclusion. If Vodafone accepts the settlement offer, then don't you think the overseas arbitration process would then be null and void? It would be withdrawn?
I would imagine that they will formally withdraw the arbitration, because it's the Vodafone which has gone into arbitration, and so the government has to follow that. So if Vodafone withdraws the arbitration, which it should once they have that, once they have accepted the out of arbitration settlement, then this should be the case, that they should withdraw arbitration, and that should be the end of that case.
Daksha, I would like to play devil's advocate over here. And of course, in an ideal case scenario, Vodafone would of course not want to cough up any taxes. They would of course ideally want the government to scrap the retrospective law, which would then mean that no tax would have to be paid. How do you foresee and how do you examine this development that has recently happened with the fact that the retrospective tax laws have still not been struck down?
Government has very clearly said that they don't want to make retrospective changes in law. It doesn't mean that they will never make it, because if there is a situation where retrospective change needs to be made, then it will need to be made. This was a negative change. What if it was meant to be a positive change? Are we saying that no retrospective changes can be made in law? That can never be the position of the government, and I don't think it is. Whatever it is, the law is there. If they want to scrap that, they are saying that our parliament was wrong. It cannot be done. It would not be right. And if Vodafone has already said that we are prepared for an out of arbitration settlement, then if they don't take that up, and if they go back on their word and say that, no, we will go ahead with the arbitration because we don't really want to pay a single penny of tax, then they are also acting in bad faith. So then they will not have a face to say that Indian government is acting in bad faith. Indian government has, if at all this is the right story, true story.
Absolutely, I can confirm to you it is. It's a meeting which took place recently on 10th November.
Right.
And it also had officials as high up as the revenue secretary who were part of the process.
Correct. So if it is the case, then I don't think it would be good for Vodafone to say that now they want to go back on their word.
So if you were their lawyer, would you just grab this opportunity and tell them to smoke the peace pipe once and for all?
Let them come to me and I will say, let them come to me and I'll see what I'll tell them.
But would you categorize this case as, purely for Vodafone? Does this have an implication on some of the other companies since the government is finally walking the talk?
Well, let me just add here that there is, as such, no specific procedure laid down for this kind of settlement. There is a settlement commission, but that's a completely different thing. This is completely different. But if this becomes a kind of a situation where this kind of very high-pitched demands, which really have seen ups and downs in the sense of even change of law, etc. And if there is a committee of such a high level involving even the ministers and revenue secretary and all of that, who are capable of dealing with this kind of a settlement situation, then I believe that on a case-by basis, this would make a lot of difference to reducing the tax, quote unquote terrorism that we have in India. I mean, I don't like to use that word because people are doing their jobs, but it ends up being, looked upon as terrorism, and I think this is a very good development.
Okay, we'll let you go on that note. Appreciate you coming into our studios and discussing the case. And of course, Ashwin, thanks so much for joining in.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.